On the night of May 27, 1985, a basketball legend died in front of a national television audience. Not a real death, something worse in a way. The greatest scorer the game had ever produced stumbled up and down the floor of the Boston Garden like a man wading through wet cement. And by the time the final buzzer sounded, the verdict was already in. He was finished, washed, 38 years old and out of time. The whole basketball world agreed on it. Every columnist, every broadcaster, every barstool expert from Los Angeles to Boston, all of them except one man. One man stood in that visitor's locker room watching his captain and refused to believe what everyone else had already accepted as fact. His name was Pat Riley, but to understand why Riley was right and why almost nobody listened, you have to go back. Back before the massacre, back to the years when the doubts first started to creep in. Because the story of Kareem being written off didn't begin in 1985. It began a long time before that. Let's start with the man himself and the mountain of expectation he had already carried for the better part of 2 decades. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was not supposed to be an underdog. Ever, this was a player who arrived in the world of basketball as a force of nature and simply never stopped. Born Ferdinand Louis Alcindor Jr. in New York City in 1947, he was already 6'8" in middle school. By high school, he was unstoppable, leading Power Memorial to a record of 79 wins and only 2 losses across his career. At UCLA, under John Wooden, he won 3 national championships and went 12-0 in the NCAA tournament. The college game literally changed its rules because of him, banning the dunk in a desperate and futile attempt to make him mortal. Then came the NBA. Rookie of the Year, a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks in 1971 at just 24 years old, along with his first Finals MVP award and the first of his 6 most valuable player trophies. He developed a shot that could not be blocked, could not be defended, could not be stopped by any human being who ever lived. The skyhook, a weapon so unique and so perfect that 35 years after his retirement, no one has ever truly copied it. He was traded to the Lakers in 1975, and for a while he carried mediocre teams on his back, brilliant but unrewarded. Then, in 1979, everything changed. A rookie point guard named Magic Johnson arrived in Los Angeles with a smile that lit up the arena and a style of play that would define an entire decade. Showtime was born, and in 1980, in Magic's very first season, the Lakers won it all. But here is a detail that gets lost in the legend. Even in that triumph, even in that glittering beginning, the seeds of doubt about Kareem were already being planted, because Kareem was already 33 years old when Magic showed up. In basketball terms, that is old. And the game was changing. It was getting faster, younger, more explosive. Showtime was built on speed and flash and the fast break. And here was this aging center, methodical and deliberate, a relic from an earlier era, anchoring a team that was supposed to run. For a few years, it worked beautifully. Another title in 1982. Kareem was still producing, still dominant, still the captain. But time is undefeated. And in 1983, the cracks became impossible to ignore. The Lakers reached the finals that year against the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Sixers had gone out and acquired a man specifically built to solve the Kareem problem. Moses Malone, a rebounding machine, a bruiser, a force who played the game with a physicality that the older Kareem simply could not match anymore. What happened in that series was ugly. Philadelphia swept the Lakers 4 games to nothing, and Moses Malone out-rebounded Kareem across the series by a margin of 72-30. 72-30. Malone was named Finals Most Valuable Player, and for the first time, the whispers became a roar. Kareem was slipping. Kareem was too old. The Lakers needed a new answer at center. That was the talk. That was the growing consensus. He was 36 years old, and in the brutal arithmetic of professional sports, 36 is a countdown to retirement. Now, to his enormous credit, Kareem answered those critics the very next season. In 1983 and 1984, he led the Lakers in both scoring and rebounding, put up over 21 points a game, and was named to the All-NBA first team for the 9th time in his career. It was a defiant, brilliant campaign from a man who refused to fade quietly. But the doubts never fully went away. They just waited. And in June of 1984, they came flooding back. The 1984 finals, Lakers versus Celtics. The rivalry that defined the decade, Magic against Bird, renewed on the biggest stage. And it was a war. 7 games of blood and hatred and physical brutality. But there is one image from that series that tells you everything about where the world's mind was regarding Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Game 5, Boston Garden, June 8, 1984. The old arena had no air conditioning, and a heat wave had descended on the city. The temperature inside the building climbed to a reported 97 degrees. It was, in Riley's own words afterward, a 48-minute steam bath. Robert Parrish cramped up. A referee had to leave the game from dehydration. And there, on the bench, was the enduring picture of the night. A 37-year-old Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, an oxygen mask strapped to his face, sucking in air, trying desperately to recover enough to get back onto the floor. That image went everywhere. The greatest center of all time, reduced to breathing from a tank on the sideline. Larry Bird played the game of his life that night, 34 points and 17 rebounds, and the Celtics went on to win the series in 7. And the picture that lingered, the picture that framed the entire narrative, was of Kareem on that oxygen mask. Old, spent, gasping. The 1984 and 1985 season was widely expected to be Kareem's last. He had said as much himself over the years. Once he broke Wilt Chamberlain's all-time scoring record, which he did in April of 1984, the assumption was that he would ride off into retirement. He was a legend closing the book. That was the story everyone had written for him. Everyone except Pat Riley. Because Riley knew something about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that the critics and the columnists did not. He knew it because he had been there for the whole thing. Pat Riley's history with Kareem stretched back to before either of them was famous. As a high schooler, Riley had actually played against a young Lou Alcindor. His high school team beat Power Memorial in a game where questionable officiating fouled out the great center in just 8 minutes. Their paths crossed again in Los Angeles, first as teammates on the Lakers, and then when Riley took over as head coach. As coach and captain, there was a deep, shared history there, a mutual respect built over decades. And Riley did not see a dying legend when he looked at Kareem. He saw a competitor whose fire had not gone out. He saw a professional whose discipline was unmatched. He saw a man who, if pushed the right way, if managed the right way, if believed in the right way, still had championships left inside him. So while the rest of the league was busy composing Kareem's eulogy, Riley made a decision. He was going to build his team around the belief that the captain was not finished. Not even close. In December of 1984, Kareem signed a 1-year contract extension to keep playing. The book was not going to close just yet. And the stage was set for the single most important test of Riley's faith. A test that came in the most humiliating fashion imaginable. That brings us to the massacre. May the 27th, 1985, Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Lakers versus Celtics once again, a rematch of the previous year's heartbreak. And Los Angeles walked into the Boston Garden and got destroyed. Not beaten, destroyed. The final score was 148-114, a 34-point demolition. Scott Wedman came off the Boston bench and made every single shot he attempted from the field, all 11 of them. Danny Ainge caught fire, and it became known forever after as the Memorial Day Massacre. But the score was not the story. The story was Kareem. The captain was invisible. 12 points, 3 rebounds. He looked, as one writer put it, like he was mired in quicksand. He was beaten up and down the floor by Robert Parrish, a man 8 years his junior, who dropped 18 points and 8 rebounds and made the old man look ancient by comparison. It was exactly the performance the critics had been predicting for 2 years. Here it was, on the grandest stage in basketball, the confirmation of everything they had said. Time had won. Kareem was done, Riley was furious, and he did not hide it. Afterward, he said flatly that he was embarrassed. Not disappointed. Embarrassed. It was the harshest thing a coach could say about his franchise cornerstone. And Riley said it to the world. Now here is where the story turns. Here is where the difference between Pat Riley and everyone else in that arena becomes clear. The easy thing, the thing most coaches would have done, the thing the media was practically begging for, was to start pulling back, to reduce Kareem's role, to lean harder on the younger players, to quietly accept that the old man was finished and adjust accordingly. Manage the decline, save face. That was the sensible, conventional path. Riley did the opposite. He challenged Kareem directly and personally. He told his captain to his face that he had not played hard enough. He did not soften it. He did not make excuses about age or fatigue or the pressure of the moment. He treated Kareem not like a fragile old legend to be handled with care, but like a warrior who had fallen short and needed to answer for it. And Kareem, to his eternal credit, took it. This immensely proud man, one of the greatest to ever play, did not push back. The next day, in a team meeting at the hotel, Kareem went to each of his teammates, one by one, and apologized for his effort. He said simply that he was embarrassed too. And then he made what Riley would later describe as a contract with the team. A promise. It would never happen again. Ever. What followed was one of the great redemption arcs the finals has ever seen. There is a small human detail from that stretch that says everything about the state of mind Kareem was in. Before Game 2, he asked Riley if his father, Lou Alcindor Sr., could ride the team bus to the Boston Garden. He wanted his dad there. He wanted family close. Whatever it took to find that spark again, he was reaching for it. And he found it. The days between Game 1 and Game 2 were brutal. Kareem watched hours upon hours of game film. The practices were grueling, and Riley spared no one, least of all his 38-year-old center. There were marathon sessions that included over an hour of sprinting drills. And when Riley, at various points, tried to persuade Kareem to take a break, to rest those old legs, Kareem refused. He would not stop. Something had been lit inside him. At one team film session, the 7'2" captain uncharacteristically sat in the very front row, absorbing every pointed critique his coach threw at him. Game 2 arrived, and the man who had looked finished 3 days earlier turned back the clock in a way that left the basketball world speechless. 30 points, 17 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 blocked shots. He outran Robert Parrish. He dominated the paint. He was, in every possible way, the Kareem of old. The Lakers evened the series with a 109-102 victory. And afterward, Kareem walked to the press and delivered a line for the ages. He told the reporters that, contrary to public opinion, the reports of his demise had been greatly exaggerated. The demise had been exaggerated by everyone. Everyone except Pat Riley. And it did not stop there. Across the 4 Lakers victories in that series, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar averaged over 30 points, more than 11 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and 2 blocks a game. He was, once again, the most dominant center in basketball, at an age when centers are supposed to be retired and coaching youth clinics. After the team split the middle games, Kareem poured in 36 points in a pivotal Game 5. And then came the closeout, Game 6. Back in the Boston Garden, the building where Los Angeles had lost to these Celtics in the finals 8 separate times across the history of the rivalry. 8 times the Lakers had come to Boston with a championship on the line, and 8 times they had walked out losers. The Garden was a house of horrors, the site of decades of Lakers heartbreak. And on June the 9th, 1985, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar walked in and slammed the door shut. 29 points on 13 of 21 shooting, along with 7 rebounds. The Lakers won 111-100, and for the first time in 9 tries, spanning nearly 30 years, Los Angeles had beaten Boston in the finals. On Boston's own floor, the exorcism was complete. The ghosts were gone. And the man who led them out of that haunted building was the same man everyone had declared dead 13 days earlier. When the votes were counted, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was named the most valuable player of the 1985 NBA Finals. He was 38 years and 54 days old, the oldest Finals MVP in the history of the league, a record that still stands to this day. It was his second Finals MVP. His first had come in 1971, 14 years earlier, back when he was still Lou Alcindor and John Wooden's UCLA banners were still fresh. Think about the span of time there. 14 years between finals MVPs. In the years between those two trophies, entire careers had begun and ended. And Kareem was still standing on top of the mountain. Riley, in the aftermath, said the thing that summed up the entire saga. He said that Kareem had defied the critics. 4 words, but they carried the weight of everything. Because the critics had been legion and Riley had stood almost alone against them, and now the banner was going up in the rafters to prove which side had been right. Riley also revealed the deeper truth of what had happened between those 2 games. He said Kareem had been bad and knew he was bad and said he was bad. He said that awful Game 1 had been a blessing in disguise. Because after it, Kareem carried himself with a different air, a different look in his eye. And his commitment from that point forward, Riley said, was astounding. That is the heart of it. Riley did not just believe in Kareem's talent. He understood how to unlock it. He understood that this was a man who responded to challenge, not to comfort. That the way to get the best out of an aging superstar was not to protect him from hard truths, but to demand more of him than anyone thought he had left to give. Any other coach might have coddled him after that Game 1 disaster, might have made excuses, might have started the slow-managed retreat. Riley demanded a contract instead, and Kareem delivered a title. But the story of Riley being right about Kareem does not end with the 1985 championship. In some ways, that was just the beginning. Because the real challenge, the real test of Riley's vision was not getting one more great series out of the captain at 38. It was keeping him relevant, keeping him valuable, keeping him a champion. For years beyond that, deep into his 40s. Long past the point where any reasonable person expected him to still be playing at all. And to do that, Riley was about to build something that would change professional sports forever. The 1985 and 1986 season should have been another coronation. The Lakers came flying out of the gate with a record of 29 wins and only 5 losses. The pundits, the same ones who had buried Kareem a year earlier, were now saying this might be the greatest team ever assembled in the history of basketball. And then, stunningly, they collapsed in the playoffs, losing in the Western Conference Finals to the Houston Rockets and their Twin Towers. The best team in history did not even make it to the championship round. Riley was done making excuses about talent. He was tired of hearing about potential and promise and flashes of brilliance followed by fades. He wanted consistency. He wanted his players, all of them, to give everything, every single night. So he sat down and created a system. He called it the Career Best Effort Program, CBE. The idea was elegant and relentless. When a player joined the Lakers, Riley would track his statistics all the way back to high school, a process he called taking their number. He would establish an honest baseline of what that player was truly capable of. Then he would take every category on the stat sheet, apply a value to each, divide it all by minutes played, and produce a single rating. And then he would ask each player to improve on that rating by at least 1% over the course of the season. 1%, not double, not a miracle, just a little bit better than your own best. And if you hit it, you had recorded a career best effort. But it was not only about points and rebounds. Riley insisted that CBE was about giving your best spiritually and mentally and physically. Players earned credit for the unsung things, taking a charge, diving for a loose ball, chasing a rebound you had no real chance of getting, helping a teammate who had been beaten off the dribble. It was a philosophy of total accountability, a way of measuring effort itself. Now, for most players, improving by 1% was a reasonable ask. But for Kareem and Magic, players already operating at the absolute ceiling of human performance, it was brutally difficult. And that was exactly the point. Riley was demanding that even his greatest, oldest star keep finding ways to get better. Not to coast, not to rely on reputation. To measure himself honestly, night after night. And keep climbing. For a 39-year-old center, then 40-year-old center, this was the difference between a graceful decline and sustained excellence. The system would not let Kareem drift. It would not let him rest on 20 years of accomplishments. It kept him engaged, kept him competitive, kept him giving that best effort long after his body had every excuse to quit. But Riley did more than just hold Kareem accountable. He was smart enough to know that accountability alone was not enough. You cannot demand that a 40-year-old carry the same load as a 25-year-old. So Riley did something that a lesser coach, a more ego-driven coach, might never have done. He redesigned the entire offense to protect his aging captain while keeping him essential. Heading into the 1987 season, Riley made a deliberate strategic shift. He moved the primary offensive focus away from the post and onto Magic Johnson. Magic became the engine, the hub, the man with the ball in his hands, making everything go. That season, Magic won the Most Valuable Player award. And the beauty of it was that this shift took an enormous burden off Kareem's shoulders. He no longer had to be the nightly workhorse, the guy who had to score 30 to give the team a chance. He could pick his spots. He could conserve his energy. He could still be devastating, but in smaller, more efficient doses. Riley also went out and made a trade midway through that season, acquiring the veteran center Michael Thompson. It was another move designed to lighten the load, to give Kareem a capable backup who could eat minutes and bang bodies so the captain did not have to do it all. Young AC Green stepped into the starting lineup. Every piece of it was engineered toward one goal: keep Kareem fresh, keep Kareem effective, keep Kareem a champion, deep into an age when centers simply do not last. Kareem turned 40 years old during the 1987 playoffs. 40. And the Lakers won 65 games that season, the best record in the entire league, with the top offense in basketball. They tore through the Western Conference and met their old rivals, the Celtics, in the finals one more time. And this time, it was Magic's turn to author the defining moment, hitting his famous junior skyhook over Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish in the pivotal Game 4. The Lakers won the series, another championship, and a 40-year-old Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, no longer the focal point, but still a vital, functioning piece of a title team, had another ring. That is what Riley being right actually looked like in practice. Not a fantasy where Kareem stayed 28 forever. A real, clear-eyed plan that acknowledged the man's age and built around it. That surrounded him with support and shifted responsibility to younger shoulders, all so that the captain could keep contributing to winning basketball. Everyone else had wanted to simply discard him. Riley found a way to keep him valuable. And then came the guarantee. At the championship celebration in 1987, with the confetti still falling, Pat Riley made a bold and public promise. He guaranteed that the Lakers would win it again the following year. A repeat, back-to-back titles. Now this was no small thing to promise. No team had won consecutive NBA championships in nearly 2 decades, not since the Boston Celtics dynasty of the 1960s. It simply was not done anymore. The league was too deep, too competitive, the wear and tear too great. And Riley was making this guarantee with a 41-year-old man anchoring his front court. But Riley believed. He believed in his system, in his stars, and yes, in his aging captain. And in 1988, the Lakers made good on it. They fought through a grueling gauntlet of Western Conference opponents, then met a hungry, brutal Detroit Pistons team in the finals, the Bad Boys, in their first ever championship series. It went the full 7 games. Detroit even led 3-2 heading back to Los Angeles. But the Lakers survived a 25-point third-quarter explosion from an ankle-injured Isaiah Thomas to take Game 6 by a single point, 103-102, and then closed it out in Game 7, 108-105. Back-to-back champions, the first team to do it in 19 years. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, at 41 years old, was still there, still a member of a championship team, still contributing, still winning. In the locker room after that Game 7, he announced that he would come back for one final season before retiring. He had one more lap in him. That final season, 1988 and 1989, became a farewell tour unlike anything the league had seen. Everywhere Kareem went, in every arena in every city, opposing teams stopped to honor him. They showered him with gifts and standing ovations. One newspaper called it the Magical History Tour. He received a yacht with the words Captain Skyhook painted on it. He received framed jerseys and rugs and tributes of every kind. And on his final night at the Forum, his coach Pat Riley, along with Magic Johnson and others, delivered heartfelt speeches, and the team playfully rocked the 42-year-old legend in an oversized rocking chair at center court. The Lakers reached the finals one more time that year. A rematch with the Pistons, Kareem's own play had finally, genuinely faded. This time, it was real. He averaged a career-low 10 points a game and shot below 50% from the field for the first time in his life. With Magic and Byron Scott both hobbled by hamstring injuries, Los Angeles was swept in 4 games. In his last game, Kareem scored 7 points and grabbed 3 rebounds, and then he walked off the court for the final time. He retired at 42 years old after 20 seasons, the oldest player in the league. And the records he left behind were staggering. The all-time leading scorer in NBA history with 38,387 points, a record that would stand for decades. The most games played, the most minutes played, the most blocked shots. 6 championships, 6 most valuable player awards, still a record, 19 All-Star selections, 2 finals MVP awards separated by 14 years. Now think about the arc of it. Think about how much of that legendary ending very nearly did not happen. Go back to 1983, Moses Malone dominating him, the sweep, the whispers that he was finished at 36. Go back to 1984, the oxygen mask in the Boston Garden, the image of a spent old man gasping for air. Go back to the Memorial Day massacre in 1985, 12 points and 3 rebounds, the entire sport nodding along to his basketball funeral. At every one of those moments, the conventional wisdom, the expert opinion, the loud consensus was the same. It is over. Move on. The old man is done. And at every one of those moments, Pat Riley said no. He said no when it would have been easier to agree. He said no when his own front office wondered about the future. He said no when the sensible career-protecting move was to start managing the decline and shifting toward the younger core. Instead, he challenged Kareem when Kareem needed challenging. He protected him when Kareem needed protecting. He built an entire accountability system, the Career Best Effort program, in part to keep his aging stars honest and engaged. He redesigned his offense around Magic specifically so that a 40-year-old Kareem could still matter. He traded for support so the captain would not have to carry it all. Every decision flowed from a single conviction that almost no one else in basketball shared: that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was not finished, and the results are written permanently into the record books. A Finals MVP award at 38, the oldest ever. Championships in 1985, 1987, and 1988. 3 more banners hanging in the rafters of the Forum that would not exist if Riley had listened to the crowd. 3 more titles born from one man's refusal to bury another before his time. There is a lesson buried in this story that goes beyond basketball. It is about the danger of consensus. It is about how easy it is for an entire crowd of intelligent, experienced people to look at the same evidence and all reach the same wrong conclusion at the same time. The critics were not stupid. The signs of Kareem's age were real. The oxygen mask was real. The massacre was real. Any reasonable person looking at that evidence could have concluded that the end had arrived. Most reasonable people did, but Riley was not looking at the same thing they were. He was not looking at a 38-year-old body. He was looking at a competitor's heart, a professional's discipline, and a champion's pride. He knew that the numbers on a birth certificate do not tell you what a man has left inside him. He knew Kareem in a way the columnists never could, from decades of shared history, and he trusted what he knew over what everyone was shouting. That is a rare and difficult thing, to stand against a unanimous crowd, especially when the crowd has real evidence on its side, takes a particular kind of courage. It would have been so much safer for Riley to go along, to hedge, to start planning for life after Kareem. If he had been wrong, standing alone like that would have looked like arrogance and stubbornness, and it might have cost him his job. But he was not wrong. He was right, completely, resoundingly right, and the banners prove it. It is worth remembering, too, that being right about Kareem was not a matter of blind loyalty or sentiment. Riley was clear-eyed about it. When Kareem played badly, Riley said so, publicly and bluntly. He called himself embarrassed. He told his captain he had not worked hard enough. This was not a coach making excuses for a favorite. This was a coach who saw the greatness that remained and refused to let his player settle for anything less than reaching it. The belief and the demand went hand in hand. Riley believed Kareem still had it, and precisely because he believed it, he refused to accept less than the captain's best. By the time Kareem finally walked away in 1989, the debate was long over. Nobody was calling him washed up anymore. Nobody was suggesting the Lakers should have moved on years earlier. The rocking chair at center court, the gifts from around the league, the standing ovations in enemy arenas, all of it was an admission from the entire basketball world that they had been wrong to write him off. That the extra 4 years, the extra 3 championships, the finals MVP at 38, had all been real and had all been earned. Pat Riley never spiked the ball. He never stood up and reminded everyone that he had been right all along, that he had seen it when they could not. He did not have to. The record spoke for him. The banners spoke for him. The oldest finals MVP trophy in league history, sitting on Kareem's mantle, spoke for him. Pat Riley was right about Kareem. He was right when it was unpopular, right when it was risky, right when the entire sport was telling him he was wrong. And the reason so few people ever gave him credit for it is simple. When you are right about something before everyone else, they do not remember that you were alone. By the time the truth becomes obvious, it feels like everyone knew it all along. The doubters quietly forget they ever doubted. And the one man who saw it early gets folded into the crowd that only came around at the end. But now you know the truth. Like and subscribe for more basketball documentaries.